All right, let's get into this real quick. So here's what you need to know. Okay, basically, this video is about something that I don't want to scare you. It's something about what's actually going on. It's something about what the news media don't talk about or won't publish information related to. It's something about where Congress is not doing what they need to do to fix it. It's something about how, at the end of the day, you need to be aware of something that is slowly, it's not even slowly, it's gonna hit hard, it's gonna slap hard, it's gonna be a negative thing in your life. I just need you to know about it. Because if you know about it, one of you might actually come up with a solution for it. All the politicians have failed. I've made suggestions. Some of them have been heard. None of them have been utilized. I'm starting to realize that, like, the solution has to come from the American people, not even the people in the industry, because nobody really gives a shit what we think. Nobody in the political spectrum expects Social Security to actually continue. They expect it, they planned on it to fail. Why? So in order for Social Security, our greatest socialist program in America, and remember, there's socialism and then there's socialism. You know what I mean? So I know Republicans get on me about this, like, all socialism is bad. No, not all socialism is bad. Socialism that is built to take care of people when they get old, paid for by the people who then get old, that's a really amazing socialism, because it's a social net built off of people understanding that old people can't work as much. Makes sense. Paying people who are disabled, same gig, same social net, great idea. Widows, auxiliary benefits for young kids who have parental issues, same gig. It's a great version of socialism. Now, mass welfare, like we have in this country, total shit show, unexcusable. It only got passed because they were vote farming. The same way they farmed for immigrants in the Bidenomics world, same thing they've been doing over the past multiple decades with welfare. Mass vote farming for people who will essentially, at the end of the day, promote the identity of needing the government, voting for more of the government to have the government fix their life. A lot of those people don't need the government to fix their life. That's why we have Social Security. That's why we have supplemental security income as the last resort. And that's the ultimate welfare, right? Now, with that said, I want to go through some basic math that I think is going to really shock you a little bit, because I think there's some incorrect understanding as to how this program actually works. In 1971, 61% of adults, 61% of adults lived in middle-class households. So that's a chunk of people. That's a chunk of people. In 2023, only 51% do the upper income tier, live in middle-class households, only 51%. The upper income tier grew from 14% to 21%. The lower income tier grew from 25% to 29%. That means that, unfortunately, things are not growing population-wise, percentage of people-wise, in the rich people direction. Because remember, at the end of the day, people always like to say, that must be nice to rich people, and I'm one of them. I'm a hypocrite on this. I know I am. But at the end of the day, I don't really want more people to be poor. I want more middle class to become rich. I want more poor to become middle class. That's what I want. And for some reason, some politicians make the rich out to be all evil. To be fair, there's more rich people, or at least middle upper class and up. You could put it that way. There's more middle class and up people that do positive, moral, ethical, life-saving things in America than the impoverished. The truth is, the amount of, like, helping humans that's done, it's mostly not done by the poor. It's not done by the middle low. It's not done by the middle. Most helping humans in America, it's actually done by the middle, upper, and all the way up. Those are the ones who create all the jobs. create the industries, spend their nights working on figuring out how to invent a product that makes it better, that will help a lot of people with their life, blah, 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 blah. That's who actually makes innovations that help people. That's the reality. And then the rich will buy those innovations until those innovations become standardized, and then the middle class and the poor get to access them. That's when like I get to access better technology, right? Because remember, way back in the day, if you wanted a hot shit computer, you couldn't get one. Only the rich could get them. Now everybody's got a hot shit computer in their pocket. It's a phone. And it's this natural changeover that causes what we end up with. But as I get older, and after 12 plus years, going on 13 years owning a law firm that works with the impoverished, the middle income, the upper income, working with that many homeless individuals. I was at the homeless facility today working with homeless people. What I've realized, not just my law firm, I used to work for other law firms too. And then before that, I worked with academia. What I've realized is that we do not seem as a people, and that's partly because we vote in politicians who are corporate pieces of shit. They're total failures, right? They're disgusting failures that couldn't run a corporation if they wanted to. That's how they ended up in politics. They got a good smile. They know how to shake a hand. They know how to laugh at a lunch, but they don't know how to run a company. And so, at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is that we don't actually do enough for the middle upper class, because those are the people that are going to invent the future corporations that are going to go ahead and create more products, hire more people, etc. We don't even focus on those people. We just expect that they're going to figure it out because they're successful. They're smart enough to get to the spot where they're at. And the weird thing about it is, it's like the super rich get the major tax cuts, which they need to hire more people. Sometimes they do it. It doesn't always trickle down. This whole trickle down thing, it works sometimes, other times, total BS ride. Middle class gets totally effed. They don't really get any breaks, really, at the end of the day. And the poor get all the breaks. The bend points on the graph are always in the favor of the poor and the super rich. So what I've realized is that we don't really promote the middle class to become middle upper class, and the middle upper class to innovate the products to become more and more rich, because we just expect that they'll figure that shit out on their own. And I think that is the fundamental problem that we have with the success of Social Security going forward, because if we don't have people working and paying FICA taxes, psych taxes, self-employment taxes, if we don't have that happening, this whole thing collapses. Now, we already know we have a day. We have a day, a time. We already know when the collapse is going to occur. We know that somewhere before 2033 at this point, 23% reduction. We already know that collapse is going to occur. How many collapses occur thereafter? We already know there's going to be far worse collapses, because there's not enough people being born in families that have traditional work cultures to end up in jobs that will pay for all of these Social Security benefits. So like if you're in your 50s right now or your 60s right now, you should be really worried about the short-term life of Social Security retirement benefits. Like your worry should be quite high. Now, a lot of you are like, well, I don't want to worry. And that's fine too. Like I don't think you should have to live in a world where you're like, shit, this is not good. So here's kind of the basic things you need to keep in mind. Let's say a middle-class person earns around $62,000, $62,192. That's the median for full-time workers, middle-class benchmark right there, $62,192. And for some of those people out there looking to date somebody, yes, the median for men is $62,192 before taxes. After taxes, which is around $11,700, they make around $50,492. That is the average standardized model for a male. So like for a lot of women out there looking to date somebody, just to be clear, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Men don't have access to OnlyFans money like you think they do. They just don't. They don't. So just to be clear on that one, there's a lot of social media out there about people who have a misunderstanding when it comes to dating people. $50,492 take home is basically the net earnings of what the average male actually brings home. So if you're a little confused on what a male should bring home, that is what he should bring home. In the middle, some bring home less, some bring home more. Okay. Now, with that said, okay, Wage stagnation is a major problem. From 1972 to 2023, productivity grew 80%. So basically, the people working right now are able to achieve and complete and do much more than prior generations. So in 1979, a person walks into an office and would produce 80% less. While nowadays, the median hourly compensation grew only 15%. So 80% more productive, using technology, working hard, doing extra hours, working more jobs. Wages only grew 15%. Okay. After adjusting for inflation, real median wage, it's just terrible. It's incredibly bad. Now, you have to understand, college tuition since 1980 has increased by across the board, as it was, figured out, by about 1,200 to 1,500%. It's not 2 to 3 times more than it was in the 1980s. It is 1,200 to 1,500% more for the same education. Yeah. So when people tell you that are older, like, education, just pay off your loans, whatever, we can't. We cannot. We would love to, but we can't. Healthcare premiums up 1,000, 1,500%. Median home price is up 600 to 700%. Median income only rose 200% for basically that time price. What else we got here? Childcare up 1,000 to 2,000% in many states. That's basically a single income middle class lifestyle that was comfortable in 1975. Now usually requires 2 full-time earners plus debt. Remember, everybody's got credit card debt now, the way it is. Next thing they have to keep in mind that's going to hurt Social Security benefits is the lack of good jobs due to the decline of industrialization. For those who only have like a high school diploma or right around a high school diploma. So manufacturing share of employment fell from 28% in 1960 to only 8% today. Those jobs paid above the median wages with strong benefits and union protection. Most replacement jobs, retail, hospitality, gig work, administrative, pay less and offer fewer benefits. College wage premium exploded, but only 38% of adults have a bachelor's degree, leaving the majority competing for lower paying jobs. So if you're ever wondering why are there so few jobs for people with a high school diploma or didn't complete college, it's because we don't have industrialization. We don't have warehouses where we assemble things. We don't have raw materials coming into the country where we go into warehouses and actually make products. We don't manufacture and we don't assemble here for the most part. So that's one of the big things as to why people who don't have a higher education can't find jobs, because we don't have industries in this country. We also have declining union power. Union is good in some instances, bad in others. Private sector union membership has collapsed. 35% in 1950 to 6% today. So it's just private sector union membership the unions don't control much anymore. Unions historically lifted wages for non-college workers, enforced benefit standards across entire industries. Their decline removed a major counterweight to corporate profit taking. But at the end of the day, the big ticket item is that people basically, they can't afford the monthly wages or the monthly cost of the union. They don't want to afford it. The unions aren't as successful as they used to be at getting things done. There's a lot of political BS going on in the unions. So to be fair, a lot of these unions have been infiltrated by political groups that do not want blue-collar people to be successful. They want profitable functions from the industry that they've gone into, which means pay employees less, which is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Next thing that's going to hurt Social Security is that there's a rising concentration of people that are super rich. That's basically it. People with a lot of capital, people with a lot of wealth. The share of national income going to labor versus capital fell from 65% in the 1970s to 56 to 60% today. The top 1% now capture 22% of the pre-tax income, and the top 0.1% capture almost as much as the entire bottom 50%. The top 1%, I think it was a statistic, is now making as much as the entire middle class. I think that's like a new statistic that's coming out. It's getting close to that. So bottom line, just so you understand, the super ultra rich are so rich now that the capitalism model we had doesn't work anymore. They're so rich that they're holding on to too much money that should be in the hands of the workers. A lot of that's because these super CEOs are getting paid as much as they do. Some of them, it's just family wealth that keeps building up. If you don't do stupid shit and you have money, you have generational wealth that just keeps growing. That's how it is. You know, some of these super wealthy families had a bunch of idiot kids. They needed a Bugatti. They needed a whatever. I don't even know a bunch of fancy cars, but they needed fancy houses, fancy cars, and they didn't do anything. They didn't increase, you know, they were just a monthly expenditure on the family's existence. Some families had that, but a lot of them didn't. A lot of them, they set up trusts and they created generational consistent wealth. And let me explain to you, a lot of people don't think about this. A lot of people don't know families that have wealth. So let me explain real quick how they work. Families with wealth create trusts, and the trusts disperse wealth with the least amount of tax problems attached to them. If things have to be inherited, they skip a generation, right? But the people in between, the generation that doesn't get to inherit the actual ownership, they get to have use through the trust. Imagine waking up as a person who is 18, born into this world, educated at fancy schools, and never, ever, for a day in your life, having to work. Because every single month, you have more than you will ever need in money. Imagine that then the families tell you, go work for the competitors, go get a job, go learn the fields, and then you can come learn and work at the company. And that is how you create generational wealth. And that is, for every country out there, the trick. If you can get to that point where you've made it, then every single genetic lineage, every bloodline of you thereafter will successfully exist in a safer world, in a healthier world, in a better world. That is freedom. A lot of people don't spell freedom that way. A lot of people are like, I got to go out and watch a storm cloud today. Freedom. My boss wasn't able to tell me what to do today. Freedom. That's bullshit freedom. That's working class freedom. That is not real freedom. Freedom is where you, on a generational level, have everything you will need, and countries and most laws and most things don't get to tell you what you have to do. Let me give you an example. You live in an apartment in the city, and you basically look out the window and you think, wow, I'm so free. Total bullshit. You're not free. There are more laws looking over you to make sure that you do what they want you to do in the city, than in the suburbs, than in the country, etc. Now, we got city person. Now we look at the other person. The other person is rich rancher. Rich rancher goes to his 50,000. Actually, that's low. His 250,000 acre ranch. He has to drive 15 miles into the property to get to the house. He could commit any crime, or she could commit any crime, and nobody would ever know about it for the most part. He could go ahead, or she could go ahead and have lavish parties, all the chocolates and sweets and beer, and all the fun, adult fun, that one person could want. And still after that, every genetic person that came from that person would be able to do the exact same thing. That is true freedom. That's true freedom. That's what it is. And the moment we realize that, it's not so scary. It's like when they came out and they were like, hey, everybody, there's UFOs and aliens, they're here, there's other sentient beings. And the government, I swear, the government was like, are the people going to freak out? And like nobody's surprised. They came out with that new movie, The Age of Disclosure, and nobody's surprised. Nobody's like freaking out. Everybody knew what was going on. Hope in the USA, super thank you for the $3 donation. I love the little turkey icon. I just love that little turkey icon. That's awesome. Let me put a little heart there. That's super awesome. Super thank you. Okay, so here's the deal, right? We've got some other issues. Housing, major financial issue. So what's going on with housing? And this is one of the things that I really don't like. I don't think we should tax any disabled, any retired people on housing. I don't think technically if somebody owns a home that we should tax them the property taxes. But again, for disabled and elderly, and I know the vets get a good deal across the nation. I know that. But I think it's effed. I think it's totally effed for us to do a property tax on elderly, on retired people or disabled people. I mean, I know disabled gets some reductions, but like, I just think that's amazing. It's like you worked your entire life and now we're going to tax you through your final years. Like why would you play that game? You know what I mean? Like, and this is a thing too. Like, I'm in America because I'm stuck in America. I got a mortgage that I'm going to be paying off for the rest of my life, right? I got a mortgage. But I was talking with one of the employees that works like on the YouTube stuff, creating the shorts. And I said to him, I was like, hey, just to be fair, you're not stuck here. You could go move anywhere. And there are countries that are so much better for like what you could have for freedom, for financial ability, for future, all that stuff. And I was like, I'm just to be clear, you're not stuck here. Like I'm stuck here for the most part. Like I've bought in, you know what I mean? Like I'm part of it. I've bought in now, I got the US law degree. I got the US MBA. I got the property that I got a mortgage on. I've bought in, you know what I mean? But what I was and let me give you some of the details, okay? Zoning restrictions, investor purchases. BlackRock now owns 20 to 25%. Just let this sink in. BlackRock now owns 20 to 25% of single family rentals in some cities. My shoe just fell off. Just imagine that 20 to 25%. Like literally that statistic made my shoe. That's because I'm wearing those water shoes. I just love them. I hate the shoes that make your feet go like this. But I just imagine that 20 to 25% of single family rentals in some metros owned by BlackRock. It's incredible. Lowest interest rates were 2009 to 2022. And Airbnb short-term rentals turned housing into speculative investments. The result is that the home price to income ratios went from 3x in the 1980s to 5 to 8x in many coastal and Sunbelt cities. Rent now consumes 30 to 50% of middle-class income in many metros versus the traditional 25 to 30% rule of thumb. You remember when they came out with all those rules, like you spend this much on this, this much on this, this much on this, this one. These are your percentages. Nobody from 2000 to 2005 to 2010 to 2015, nobody can follow the 20-30 rule. Nobody can follow the 80-20 rule. Nobody can follow the 30-70 rule. Nobody can follow those rules anymore. They don't apply anymore. It's because everything's so expensive. Your food budget is now your entire investment portfolio. Healthcare, education costs. U.S. spends 18% of GDP on healthcare, nearly double the OECD average. It's also got the pretty much worst outcomes of most nations' metrics. So how the hell that happened? First world country, greatest country in the world. Employer-sponsored insurance premiums rose from a $6,000 per family in 1999 to $24,000 per family in 2024 with higher deductibles. So you're getting shittier insurance. Yeah, by the way, for the people who keep arguing that Trump doesn't know what to do, but if we could just stop arguing that Obamacare is good, it failed at everything it intended to do. Number one, it intended to have everybody have health insurance. It can't. It failed at that. Number two, it intended to go ahead and have everybody be able to pay for their health insurance. It failed. The subsidies are like the proof absolute of that. It failed at also creating a culture of doctors that were like invested in their patients. That's eroding. I know you might argue against that, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. Do you feel that doctors are more interested in their patients or less? Because like I grew up with like Dr. House and Scrubs and these cool shows. We were like, yeah, my doctor gives a shit. Yeah. But, and I mean, I got a great doctor. I do. I just can't afford him. But I got a great doctor. I can't afford my health insurance. That's what I can't afford. But I mean, like, do you feel like doctors are like really trying to be on the cutting edge of their knowledge base for you? Or is it like they show up, they do their thing, they go home, and it is what it's, you know what I mean? It is what it is. Just saying. Student debt ballooned from 250 billion in 2003, 250 billion, that's a lot, to 1.75 trillion today. Marriage is horrifically delayed. I don't know what to say. Women had to be like unlocked. You know what I mean? They had to. We had to get women to the point where they were unlocked. Women were like stuck in the house kind of situation. We had to find a way to unlock women and get them to be like more of what they wanted to be. But upon that feminism occurring, it kind of messed up the dynamic of men. Because, you know, here's what happened. Having a woman that can take charge and do shit is amazing. That's awesome. That's incredible. Like, more of that would be awesome. Having women who constantly sued men because they felt uncomfortable for little things, not good. That whole Me Too movement messed up the culture of dating because, like, guys are afraid to get sued. We don't have much nowadays, and we are afraid to get sued. And the sad thing is, most women aren't like that super left Democrat, extreme feminism, paint your hair every color you can, like, you know, push, you know, everything you can about LGBTQ and Islam. Like, that most women are not in that thing where it's like a super push, you know, you slay, you're so fabulous. Most women are not in that thing. They're feminism for women to become unlocked and be great achievers, not so much what it evolved into, which is basically anti-masculinity, which is again weird. I don't really get it. It's just, I don't know. It's just interesting. So I guess the big thing is, you know, delayed marriage, not good. People getting married, having kids, we need that for social security. It's so important. Fertility rates, so important. I'm part of the problem too. I don't have any kids. I have 2 dogs, but I'm part of the problem too. You can always adopt kids, but remember, at the same time, that's not making kids. You got to make kids to make Social Security work. That's the reality. But please do adopt kids because they need it. You know what I mean? Home ownership, obviously on decline. Companies are taking over it. All the properties on the water will one day be owned by companies. That's the reality. Child rearing is extremely expensive. For a house that takes 2 people to work, how do you raise a kid? You know what I mean? Like, that's the tough thing. That's kind of the kicker with that. The degree holders, people like me, we don't make enough to make it make sense to have the degrees anymore. Like, if I could go back in time, I would have traded my law degree for learning how to invest in houses. That's what I would have done. I would have started early investing in houses, creating rental homes. That would have been a smart thing for me to do financially. Instead, I went into disability law. I became America's most viewed, subscribed to, clicked on disability attorney. You know, have clients all over the place. And when people think of that, they're like, oh, Maine, New Jersey, California. And I'm like, no, I mean all over the place. I mean like South China Sea, Germany, Australia, all over the place. But, you know, again, money, it's not a field great with money. Janine. Oh, cute doggy. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, but super cute doggy. Adorable doggy. Reminds me a bit of Shadow. Thank you for the $10 donation. Putting a big heart there. I'm a big sucker when it comes to dogs. So if your photo is a dog, I'm gonna be like, oh, look at your fluffy. But I love dogs. You know, like if you let me put it to you, there's a level of compassion that dogs have that other people will never have for you. Even a mother's love has its limits. But with a dog, when you are butt naked, singing in the shower, and you are just the shittiest sound that was ever created, you are just singing like nobody will know. And your dog walks in and starts howling with you. There's just a level of love that only they can give you when it comes to you just being the best human you can be, which is usually not that great, but still they love you for it. And that's just, you can't, I just love that. I just love that. But Janine, thank you for the donation. I super appreciate that. Let me know your thoughts on this. We have a show idea that we're thinking about. And the show idea is to have singers come in, go into the vocal booth. They get 3 shots to sing a song. They pick the best one out of the 3 takes. And then basically they compete against the other 2 singers. So 3 singers, they compete against each other to win a prize. They sing it 3 times. They get to pick which one is their favorite take. And then that's it. And then you guys get to listen and choose from those 3 takes which one you like. And then whoever wins actually wins. I think it's a pretty cool show idea. It allows me to get more into music, which I really love. So something to think about. Next one. Tax transfer policies have shifted upwards. The top marginal income tax rate fell from 70 to 90% from 1936 to 1980 to 37%. Capital gains rates from 40% to 20%, and the estate tax was weakened. Corporate tax avoidance, offshoring profits, stock buybacks further reduced the revenue base that once funded middle-class infrastructure and education. The super rich, they got better at hiding money. Automation, AI, computers, robots, globalized pressure to create faster, quicker innovation. Most middle-class jobs, bookkeepers, paralegals. I don't know that many paralegals anymore. Like, that field is just gone. There's just so few of them now. Like, I don't know any new paralegals. I don't know anybody studying to be a paralegal anymore at all, which is kind of like a weird thing for me to say in my field. I just don't know, because why would you need a paralegal when you have AI able to mass search cases? You know, radiology techs, truck drivers are gonna, I'm telling you, next 5 years, it's not gonna be any truck. There might be some, but there's not gonna be many. UPS trucks, USPS trucks, FedEx trucks, big semis, they're all going to be on blue lanes, and the blue lanes are going to basically have the big trucks, and then they'll have smaller trucks basically deliver the packages. Your package will literally have a little robot spider machine that walks its butt to your door, drops the package, and takes a photo, and then walks back to the truck. That's the future. All right, why do I say all this? I say this because, just to go back to the original theory, 61% of adults lived in the middle class in 1971, only 51% in 2023. And it's getting worse. Why is this important for Social Security? Social Security is mostly funded by the middle class. Because remember, there's that cap. The rich only pay up to a certain point. So if you earn over, hold on, let me see what the 2026 cap is going to be. 2026 cap for Social Security FICA taxes. It is $184,500. So like the richest person on earth, let's just say the top 50,000 rich people only pay up to $184,500 worth of FICA taxes. Like they pay FICA taxes on up to that and then no more. And so to be clear, right, at the end of the day, it's mostly the middle. Because remember, if you have that many rich people paying that, then that's not that many rich people. That's why the middle class mostly pays for Social Security benefits for everybody. Because you need a shitload of people paying, basically FICA taxes in. And then the poor and the impoverished, they get the most benefits. It's always weird to me, and I have to calm myself down. And I represent a lot of SSI people, although we're not doing as many as we used to do. where I'll have the person will be like, that's all I'm getting. And then I'm sitting there with their IRS reports, their detailed earnings query, summary earnings query. And I'm like, you haven't worked much at all in 55 years. And they're like, that's all I'm getting. And I'm just like, but you didn't participate in the program. Like, all those middle-class people paid for you. But I don't do that anymore. I don't try to correct people because it's just easier to go, yeah. I've realized that when people show you emotion or they'll tell you something completely wrong, as long as I'm not being recorded, I'll agree with them. Just be like, yeah, interesting. That is what, yeah. I've felt a lot more peace doing that. Why is this important? BBC loses 1.1 billion as more viewers cancel or evade TV license fee. All right, let me give you the definition of the BBC TV license fee so you understand what it is. Let me get like an actual definition. BBC TV license fee definition. Okay, here we go. The BBC TV license fee is a mandatory payment required to watch live TV or use BBC iPlayer in the UK, primarily funding the BBC's public services such as its TV channels, radio stations, and websites. It's a tax. You want to watch TV, you got to pay it. I don't know. I don't know if it's required for streaming services. I doubt it. Let me see. No, the BBC TV license fee is not currently required for all streaming services. All right, so here's what's happening. The BBC produces it's even more extreme than America, very liberal. No, liberal's not right. Very woke. I think of myself as a liberal person. Very woke ideology, very pro-Muslim, pro-Islam, very, very woke ideology. And as a result, most people over in the United Kingdom-y area are over it. They don't give a shit. They're not part of it. They feel like their entire culture is being erased. They're pissed. And they're not willing to pay for basically this license fee anymore. As a result, BBC loses 1.1 billion as more viewers cancel or evade TV license fee. In my opinion, there is a disease promoted by the left about how the middle class, and specifically whites, Caucasians, should have to do things for everybody else. And the problem with that is, keeping in mind, like this is, a lot of Americans don't realize they're being manipulated by statistics that America feeds them. I asked a person who basically was telling me about how whites did all these terrible things in slavery and they have to pay reparations. And I said to them, okay, let me ask you this. Whites are the biggest group on earth, right? And he's like, yeah, of course. I said, and what whites did this, of course. And I said to him, are there more whites on earth or blacks? And he said, of course, whites. And there's way fewer whites than there are black people. And a lot of people don't realize that because we're Americans. We don't look at what the world is. We don't look at other countries. We just, as Americans, we look at what's going on in our state. We don't really know. That at the end of the day, we don't really know. Hold on, let me give you the actual statistics. It'll surprise you. So let's see what we got here. Let me see if I can get a statistic here. Let me pull up an AI. An AI is going to have to do the math on this because just let me get this real quick. Here we go. Okay, so if we do a quick calculation, let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so breakdown, there's about 850 to 950 global estimate of white people, 10.5 to 12% of the world population. So there's not a lot of white people. So in the world, on the world, around the world, there's just not that many white people. There's just not. We're actually not the majority race. We're not the majority. Let's see, black people are 1.6 to 1.7 billion people. So there's about twice as many, black people as white people on Earth. So, and I remember I didn't know this statistic until one day I was reading about like world statistics on how many people there were. Right. And I thought there was just, I thought, there was some like, Asian countries and then, there's some African countries and then there's some South American countries, but then everybody else was just white. In my head, it was just like white people everywhere. And then I learned statistically, whites are actually not, there's not a lot of them. Which is weird because as an American, I just assumed there was like whites everywhere. There's a Caucasian right over there too. How look at that one, But it's not. It's actually not true. It's just in America, right? That there's a lot of whites. And even then, it's not even that high of a percentage anymore. So just one of the things I realized is like, and this is one of the things you have to keep in mind. What's happening now is a culture war in America. I don't think a civil war is going to happen. They're throwing that framing of words around. But you have classic, and remember, it's not just white. It's, it's more of the culture of something. Okay, so let me give you an example. If you take race and you remove it completely from the analysis, so you don't know what color their skin is, right? So if everybody is multicolored, right? Everybody's every color. It all comes down to the cultures. Are they Christian? Are they Jewish? Are they Muslim? Are they somebody who follows Hinduism? Are they somebody who follows, and let's get out of religions. Are they somebody who is a very capitalism-oriented family, a very litigious family? Are they somebody who comes from a culture of very aggressive fighting, a culture of very recessive thinkers, a culture of chess players, a culture of scientists, a culture of military, army, navy people? It's all about the cultures, right? At the end of the day. And sure, some races have more of a particular culture than others. But like, if you want to say like a particular group has a lot of this particular culture, I mean, yeah, when it comes to banking, right? Capitalism models, the Asian marketplace, the white marketplace, and the Jewish marketplace. Yes, a lot of that. When it comes to sports, it's just African-American, black. That's pretty much the mainstay. Unless you're talking about hockey, it's just one group, right? If you're talking about, other things, it's all like a culture. It's a cultural thing. That's the way I look at it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everybody wants to split it up by race, but like, I grew up on a farm. Farm people, Aggies, agricultural people, we're a culture. We're a utilitarian people, right? People who use tractors to do stuff, they're utilitarian people. City folk, which Aggies are not always fans of. And I think that's wrong too, because the city folk buy the stuff the Aggies create. There is that relationship. But city folk, are more worried about the shine on their car, the nice entrance to their doorway, the fancy restaurant they're going to eat at. And Aggies, like, we'd rather go sit out on the porch and watch the chickens go, create a shit show with, the donkey. That to us is more humor. I love, if you ever get a chance to just go to a farm and watch animals have their own TV show moment, they're full of it. I mean, when I go to the horse estate up in New Jersey, the horses are always creating a sitcom. They're always, snarking at each other, kicking at each other, doing this, doing that, running around the field at high speed, falling down on the ground, rolling around, doing this, doing that, hair everywhere. You know what I mean? I prefer that. I prefer driving down fields, not driving through them, but driving down roads where there's fields of corn. The smell of certain plants. I prefer that. I grew up in that. I grew up in an area with a ton of beat to shit barns that would probably not be acceptable for a suburban person to step into. You know what I mean? And I'm cool with that. But I grew up in that. Most people don't grow up in that. My point with this is this is going to happen more in America. And if this happens to Social Security benefits, then we all have a big problem, because the thing that is amazing, it's the best socialism America ever came across. This is going to kill Social Security benefits, because people are going to start to find ways to opt out. Yay, farm girl. There we go. Sassy crocheter. There you go. So yeah. So just to clarify, this is a good sign of a bad thing. And it's because people are rejecting. And, you know, keep in mind, government's supposed to be neutral to some degree. It is. But people are rejecting the BBC because it represents an insult to the culture of the American people. It represents a forced culture that is a counterculture to the well-being of British people. Lynn Wilson, thank you for the $25 donation. That's a huge donation. Super, super thank you. Said, I appreciate you and love the way you love your pups. Oh, I love my chubby little piggy pups. I love those little stinky muffins. They are disastrous. They are just, you know, terrible in all the ways I love. I got to tell you, Shadow needs a bath. I picked him up before I was actually going to start. I was like, oh my goodness, I got a stinky little monster here. But I'm going to give him a bath tomorrow. He's going to have a Thanksgiving bath. He hates water more than anything on earth. I mean, hates it. When I give him a bath for like 2 to 3 days after that, he will hate me. Like if I started to charge him taxes, that's the level he would hate me, right? Sweetie loves water. She was in the pool 4 times today. I pay somebody to clean the pool because she's the only one who uses it. If I had if I had the way to do it, I'd fill the pool in because I don't use it. I'm never gonna use it. It's just not my thing. But Sweetie loves it, and that's her thing. So I just let her do the pool. But I super appreciate that. Thank you, Lynn Wilson. That's amazing. So final thought. So Sweetie, Layla and Sweetie are both, Layla was the aunt, Sweetie's the niece. They're both, part of that whole, they're a combination, but it's like a bully kind of breedy kind of thing that they are, you know, they're one of those. I know, not a classic American dog. Oh, is that, I don't know. You tell me, is the bully an American dog? Let me see. I don't even know if that is. Is the American bully an American, well, I guess American bully, it's American breed, an American dog. Let's see. It has to, well, is it? Yes, the American bully is an American dog. Although no, that doesn't look like Sweetie though. She does not have that look, like that super kind of. She does not have that. So I don't know. They said she was 100%. Let's see. She looks more like an American bulldog than an American bully for sure. Yeah, she does not look like a bully. But anyway, she's a chubby dog. She's very happy. There was an issue in front of the fridge earlier, involving some cold cuts, where Sweetie snarkled out of me way too many of them. So Sweetie's had enough turkey for Thanksgiving at this point. She's not allowed to have more turkey for the rest of Thanksgiving. But with that said, I will catch you all a little bit later. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos where we talk about difficult topics, things to be prepared about, things to be watching, this stuff. Watch out for this stuff. If you see articles about this, like, have your brain tuned into this, because this is an exact model of what could potentially end Social Security benefits, because it's this stuff where people are opting out of major government programs that defines the future of Social Security. We want Social Security. Some of you don't. I understand that. But if I could, you should want it because it's the glue that keeps society working for the fragile class. I'm not saying we should fund everybody. I'm not saying we should just fund people who don't want to work. But those who can't work, those who have earned their right to not have to work, I think we should fund them. I really do. Anyways, have an absolutely amazing and wonderful happy Thanksgiving. I will catch you all tomorrow and we will rock and roll from there. Thank you so much, Attorney Walter Hnot, and please take care of yourself. All right. And also please When you eat too much, just let it happen. Just let it roll in. I'll catch you later. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.